Hey everyone, welcome to the first edition of Roofs to Roofs, the podcast from Seeds for Eco Communities. We are on today with Laura, the founder for Seeds for Eco Communities. So, Laura, I'll hand it off to you. If you could give us a rundown of what Seeds for Eco Communities is and how I can find more information about the organization.
Awesome. Well, it's so great to be here with you all today. Thanks for joining Roots to Roots, our new podcast. The name here is really symbolic as we're looking at representing that holistic scope of how to live in harmony with nature, right from the roots up to the roofs of the communities that get developed. So, if you're hungry to learn more, there's going to be lots of great information shared with our team and external partners around getting involved in either eco community living or just moving that yardstick towards a more sustainable life. And definitely always welcome topics and suggestions. So feel free to send them in to our info at seedsforecocommunities.org. So to get a little bit towards what exactly is Seeds for Eco Communities, so we are an Ontario-based not-for-profit organization, but we really do have a global vision. So we were established in 2016, and really a lot of our focus for the first few years has been sharing information, tools, and resources for those around the globe who are looking to live a little bit more sustainably. So one of the things I like to refer to is living a little bit more with nature instead of on our natural environment. So just kind of taking a bit of a different lens there and how we live and respect our surrounding lands and water as well as the broader community. Um, I think in this time where there's so much political uncertainty, and then with the ever changing kind of climate weather event, it's really important to see how we can be a little bit more sustainable, a little bit more local to home. So, although our focus is at the organization around sustainable community based living, we definitely do provide a lot of general resources around moving that yardstick. Often, when we think about eco communities, there are a lot that are off grid, but it's not always the case. So, there are communities that are tied to the grid. So, a lot of different shapes and sizes of what they come in, and we're here to share a little bit about that today. So there's a lot of different formats of resources that we share, everything from lesson plans to blogs, videos. Working with the youth is something that's been identified as an important priority for our organization. So we do have a whole area around youth activities, trying to keep things fun, trying to get people outdoors. And I mentioned too that we have sort of a bit of a global vision. So one of the resources that we have to really support that is our global directory. So this is basically all the communities, eco communities that we know of around the world in the different continents. So you can kind of hop on, check out the eco communities that exist, and try and find one close to home. Maybe even go for a visit and learn a little bit more there too. This directory continues to be updated. It's exciting to see more eco communities hear about us and send in their requests to join that directory. So I think as well, it's the world that we live in, there's a lot of focus around that individual ownership. And one of the sort of things that we strive to help people think about at Seeds for Eco Communities is that sharing about how we can come together as a community, be more efficient, and just care a little bit more about one another. So it's, moving from that I, mine kind of mindset and terminology towards the we and ours together. So there are so many opportunities to work together and how we live, how we grow, and to help protect Mother Earth together. And some of these have great cost saving opportunities too, or business opportunities towards self sustaining. So it's kind of one of those win 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 pathways. So I'm just going to take a moment actually and share my screen and show you the website. Okay, so here you can see this is our main landing page here. And up at the top, there's various drop-down menus with resources, projects, etc. And then as you scroll down, you can see different events, activities, mission and goals, and such. The blogs and newsletters are also been a great resource that we've been able to share on a monthly basis. So just to give you a sample here, for those who are thinking about off-grid living in cold climates, here's one of our blogs, just kind of gives you a walkthrough around heating, some of the key considerations you need to think about in terms of water, solar power, backup, all those kinds of things, as well as emergency planning and learning about, the local governance that might need to be considered in your area. So that's some of the blogs there. And here just wanted to give you a quick sneak peek at some of our lesson plans. We have many, many lesson plans. You can see them kind of scrolling through here on our gallery, covering a wide variety of topics around sustainable homes, off-grid living, looking at carbon footprint, youth apprenticeships. Again, a lot of focus here around the youth and opportunities, looking at the different elements and how they play into eco-community living, growing gardens. I mean, the list is quite extensive, and we are always looking for some ideas for additional resources that might be needed. So please feel free to send in your thoughts on that too.
Laura, what exactly inspired you to build a not-for-profit organization?
I think for me, I've always been kind of close to nature, a little bit of a tree hugger here, not going to lie. And it really started at a young age, building mud pies as a child. And I have a great love for water. I love to be swimming indoors, outdoors, wherever there is an opportunity. Um, so for me, I did go into environmental studies through my university career and started right out the gate with the Ministry of Environment. So in the process of developing, legislations and regulations to help protect the earth, I learned a lot, met a lot of great partners, and got to be introduced to the world of working with Indigenous communities, which was amazing. And then in the fall of 22, I switched over to work at Indigenous Affairs, further working with Indigenous people around important issues such as food security, housing, helping with training and learning. So lots of intersects there. And really, on a personal note, working with the Indigenous communities has been a big inspiration with me. I really resonate with the way that they respect the earth and just finding ways to be a little bit more balanced and sustainable together. So, although the work at the government has provided many great lessons and personal growth and partnership opportunities, created some learning for patients at times too. I am really thankful for those opportunities. But really, I did come to a point where I felt like more needs to be done to help protect the government and the work I'm doing in my day job. I guess also on a personal note, in 2014, I did have some personal health issues. For me, I tried to see this as a great gift, a time to reflect and value what's really important and what action needs to happen. So this really in 2015 led to a conversation with one of my elders who's near and dear to my heart around what does really need to be done here and how can we move forward together. So with that, the thinking around Seeds for Eco Communities was really born. We put together a bit of a plan of what needs to do to help people get towards those sustainable community living approaches. And then there was a need to put the plan into action. And that's where the most logical pathway to do that was to develop a not for profit organization. That's really where Seeds for Eco Communities was born in 2016.
Thank you for sharing, Laura. To help us get a better foundational knowledge, what exactly is an eco community and what does eco community living mean to you personally?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And to be honest, it is defined in a lot of different ways as you travel around the world. One thing that I can say though about eco communities is they're all so unique. They have their own interests, their own character, and their own design. And that is really shaped by the people that come together in that area. Many are really guided by common principles around sustainability. So there's definitely that having a lighter footprint sort of priority, I would say, in many of the eco communities around the world. But as mentioned, very different and unique types to find. At Seeds for Eco Communities, we did put together a definition on what exactly is an eco community. So this is a group of like-minded people living together in harmony with their surrounding environment, sharing tools and resources to protect the earth for future generations. Um, so as mentioned, the scope and scale really is different. It's so neat that everyone has its own unique footprint. Local laws and climate are often big drivers around how communities are built and how they are operated, because those are important driving factors there. Um, I think another sort of thing for me on a personal note for eco communities is really trying to move towards that longer term lens of sustainability. I think we're all culprits at times of getting caught up in the short term vision and moments of our day. But we are really trying to look ahead at those future generations, seeing what needs to be set up that's a little bit more sustainable and how that knowledge transfer can occur. Um, so for me, an eco community is really a place that, it's healthy, it's sustainable, it's safe, it's affordable, and really creates a bit of a beacon for creativity and innovation. Many of the eco communities really allow residents to work more than the typical hours that are needed in our typical environment, which gives a little bit of space and time for them to follow, their dreams, their life purpose and such, and to give back a little more.
That's amazing. Thank you, Laura. There are so many terms for sustainable buildings, such as zeroing, net zero, excuse me, passive homes, off grid, carbon neutral, low footprint, all of these buzzwords. What do they all mean? And what is the gold star for sustainability?
You're absolutely right. There are many, many buzzwords in this area. So let's just take a moment and unpack them a little bit together. So just starting with green home, and I feel like this one is a little bit of a loose term. These are typically seen as homes that are built with eco-friendly materials, often smaller in size, and they have that sort of high efficiency appliances or powered by the green energy, whether it's solar, wind, or other means. But again, this one has kind of a different vision in people's head when you talk about a green home. The passive home, on the other hand, is a structure that is really focused on building with nature in mind. So these types of homes typically require less power as they are really maximizing that use of the sun and their surrounding environment for heating and cooling. So, for example, the position that the house is put in front of the sun, but also, overhangs and different things like that in terms of the design are really leveraged there to make them efficiency far beyond many building codes. When we talk about off grid, this is really looking at being independent from those public utilities. So, what exactly does this mean? So, if you live in a municipality or a town, for example, it means that you're not going to rely on the water and energy distribution systems because your home and your land is providing that for you. So you're off that grid. And then also when we look at net zero, this would move into a home which generates as much energy that it needs, or sometimes even more energy than it uses. So again, in a net zero home, you're not really needing that grid because you are self-sufficient. Carbon neutral, another kind of trendy buzzword that floats around. And this is not just in the area of buildings. You may have also seen it if you're taking a flight or doing other activities. So when we basically build or do an activity, there is creation of carbon emissions. And so how are those offset? So in a carbon neutral activity or home, those emissions are offset with either a carbon fee or an activity that generates sustainable energy. Low footprint is another one I just wanted to touch upon there. So when we are looking at the footprint of a home, we are looking at all the materials, everything that's in it, from that cradle right through to the grave. So this is looking at all those contents from the extraction of the materials, delivery, as well as maintenance, because sometimes maintenance can have an increased drive on your footprint, but then also the largely forgotten disposal considerations. What energy is impacted on that, and what are the impacts of those items breaking down in the environment. So it's that full spectrum. and adding that all together, and that's where you get to your footprint. So often, as we're looking to be a little bit kinder to Mother Earth, we're looking to really lower down our footprint in our builds. So it is kind of hard to say, like, what exactly is the gold star. In my humble opinion, I would say a net zero home that's built with as many passive home design features as possible, minimal disruption to the earth, and basically only built as big as you need it, right? And so that's another important consideration when we think about embarking on sustainable home living is how big of a house do we need? Do we have a family of one, a family of five, and then really tailoring that to those needs? Um, and I guess net zero homes, I do feel, are really key tool to help support some of the pressing housing challenges that we need. You can have lots of affordable homes in this area, but really recognizing our need to protect Mother Earth and all the pressures upon it. So maybe I will just pause for a second. I'm thinking it might be nice to show a little clip here of one of our YouTube videos. So we've done a couple of YouTube videos, and they are looking at eco communities around the world. And I think it just allows you to have a bit of a nice kind of snippet. And feel free to check out our YouTube channel and watch some of the other views that we have ready here. But it gives a nice snippet of the wide variety of eco communities that exist from around the planet. So I'm just going to hop on here and play a few minutes for you to check it out.
Eco-villages are communities that join together concepts from place-based communities and localized economies to build spaces with strong environmentally focused practices to adapt to Earth's limitations. One of the best things about eco-villages is that they're not limited to certain geographical areas, but in fact exist in many different regions of the world. Each one has their own unique approach to community-based living, but all share a common desire to lower their ecological footprint and live as sustainably as possible. Today, we'll be looking at 6 different eco-villages around the world to demonstrate that we are able to live sustainably almost anywhere on Earth. The first eco-village that we'll be looking at is Dancing Rabbit, located in northeastern Missouri of the United States. According to their website, Dancing Rabbit believes that although it can be difficult to live sustainably within the US, we can work to build a healthy alternative, a social structure that is both non-exploitive and vibrant. Dancing Rabbit was first established in 1997 and is now made up of 280 acres of land, much of which is reserved as wildlife habitat. Residents work to reintroduce native prairie plants and have also planted over 10,000 trees since the village was established. Dancing Rabbit is also actively working to develop an internal economy, including bartering and internal currencies, so that the village can be entirely financially self-sufficient. The homes in Dancing Rabbit are built using sustainable materials such as straw bales and cob and are powered with renewable solar and wind energy. The village produces enough renewable energy, in fact, that it is committed to being a net exporter of clean power to the wider energy grid. Residents have their own homes in the village, but share common resources such as kitchens, laundry facilities, and showers. Residents do have access to vehicles in Dancing Rabbit, however, they're all owned cooperatively and powered by either electricity or biodiesel. The village has a permaculture design allowing some of the residents' diets to be made up of homegrown organic produce, and anything that they cannot grow themselves, the residents purchase locally. There are both individuals and families living in Dancing Rabbit, and the founders are still looking to develop more co-ops and co-housing units. There is no buy-in fee to join, and the village works to keep lease rates and membership dues as low as possible for those interested in visiting Dancing Rabbit. The village currently offers workshops, webinars, work exchanges, open houses, and much more. There's even a sustainable living visitor program where visitors can spend up to 2 weeks in the village visiting and helping with typical resident chores. To learn more about eco-community living or to see a list of currently operating eco-villages, head on over to our website, seedsforecocommunities.org. Still here? Don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to our channel.
Okay, so just to give you a flavor and taste of some of the eco communities that are profiled around the world, I really love the dancing rabbit example. That one resonates with me on a personal note. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to be at Finhorn, an eco community in the north end of Scotland, and I actually had the pleasure of meeting somebody from Dancing Rabbit and talking a little bit about all the great work that they're doing there. And we had one of our students pull together some research all around this community and profile it. So I hope that was an interesting example to you. It just gives you a sense of the many different scope and scales of eco communities that are occurring around the world. And I think, especially in this time with lots of change happening south of the border, really looking for that opportunity to find sustainable communities is a real solution that people might be looking to explore.
Bringing us back on the topic of financial benefits to tiny homes, how can investing in low impact homes, such as tiny homes, and utilizing self sustainable methods like rainwater harvesting be financially beneficial to young families today?
Yeah, I think that's an important consideration. The cost of living to own a home has really become out of reach for many. And this is a particular concern for the youth. I know for myself, I'm hearing it in many different forums that I visit to and travel to around Ontario about just that concern of how am I going to be able to afford a home. In some of the larger cities, homes are over $1 million. I remember when having $1 million really was being rich. Perhaps I'm dating myself a little bit there now. But I think for some youth, they're feeling that getting into the housing market is really out of reach. So I think we really want to share some information here and provide some alternative solutions to show how it actually is within reach. Um, so there is hope for the future with these low impact homes, whether it be a tiny home, earth block homes, straw bale, hempcrete, depending on what part of the world you're in and where the materials are accessible and the rules are in place to help facilitate those types of homes. Lots of opportunities there. I think in terms of the legal side of things, we are really seeing things gain traction, although it's perhaps not as quickly as we all want it to be. There is movement happening there. So, just as an example, in Ontario, the rules to build or buy tiny homes a few years ago were put into guidance by the province, and now they're part of Ontario's building code. So that provides clear requirements of what exactly needs to happen if you're looking to buy or build a tiny home in Ontario. Um, and I guess one thing to think about too is that a lot of these eco-friendly homes are smaller footprint in size, and simply put, they're just far less expensive. You could be looking at a tenth or a quarter of the price for a smaller scale home than a traditional build. And as you mentioned, Natasha, rainwater harvesting, different energy and water conservation reuse initiatives can help further and help enhance that cost saving that's available. Um, I think I did want to point out too that some people feel that kind of eco community living or living in these types of houses are kind of like stepping back to the olden days. But really, that is not the case. In fact, it's quite opposite. These homes are modern, they're efficient, they're creative. There's so many unique ways that they have, multi uses of the space with fold away tables and beds and things like that. So, really, a lot of creativity and innovation there. And they can really include any amenity that a typical home includes. I guess the caveat here is really that you have to choose wisely, because if you live in a larger home with lots of goodies, then when you move to a smaller footprint house, it really forces you to say, what amenities do I actually want and need to live a comfortable and happy life? Um, it's pretty neat to see IKEA and Amazon starting to sell some tiny homes and smaller scale homes. Some of these start as low as $30,000. So just to give you a flavor there around the affordability piece, obviously you have to factor in, what are those local rules? What is going to be the cost of the foundation, the electricity, the water supply that's needed to support you on that home, especially if there aren't municipal supplies kind of up and rolling, like just kind of factoring that in. But all in all, huge opportunity here, real opportunity, small and eco-friendly homes as a real solution, and a way to get involved in that housing market and investment for the young people. And one last point I just did want to make about these awesome homes is that maintenance is often less. And if you plan your build, especially if you're planning it from the beginning, if you plan it right, a lot of these sustainable homes are able to have most or all of the work done by the homeowner. So in the long term around cost, that will really drive down the cost of maintenance that you need to maintain the home longer term.
Thank you. To kind of step back from the scope of just tiny homes, how can listeners and general community members contribute to making a difference in saving the planet?
I think everybody is here for a reason. We're all kind of on our journeys here, and we all have our part to play. Um, so I guess one thing I would say is try and be brave. Don't be afraid to speak up. Get involved in those community events. Talk to your local, provincial, or federal politicians. Feel free to share your voice. One little tip I learned in my days of government is just going online, seeing what laws and initiatives are being proposed. There's, you know, always this period to comment on these things, and the comments are taken into consideration, and they have to be as part of the process of developing, legislation and regulations and policies. So don't be afraid to put some alerts on your phone. You can get automatic alerts for areas you're interested in, and share your comments with the government to consider, because sometimes some of those ideas that have come forward from individuals have made their way into the law. So feel empowered, and don't be afraid to share your voice. Another way is really to maybe put a little bit of your time forward towards an organization that's looking for a sustainable future. If you're not able to do this on kind of an ongoing basis, maybe there's the odd event like a shoreline cleanup, tree planting, or something that's happening in your neighborhood that helps to contribute. I did also want to point out, though, a healthy planet comes in many forms, and there's other areas around, mental health, emotional health, and many great organizations doing work in that area too. And I think healing and moving towards working together are kind of going hand in hand for some, especially those who have a mental health issue, who are maybe recovering from a trauma. Um, so loads of organizations and charities, find one that resonates with you. If you're allowed to put, a little bit of your time or a small donation towards it, everything really does help.
Definitely. How can people who want to learn more get involved with Seeds for Eco Communities liaise with your team?
Well, I think I would say definitely check out our website again and see what resource libraries, eco community directory, and all the resources are there. Also, at the bottom of our webpage, we have our social channels. So we have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok. Who knows what else will follow as the social digital world evolves. But if those are one of the platforms that you're on, feel free to follow us. Every share, every comment, it all helps to broaden that awareness. So please get connected. At Seeds for Equal Communities, we always have volunteer opportunities available and welcome new additions to the team. I think this is probably the case for many not-for-profits, but the volunteers are really the backbone of everything that we do. And I'm so thankful for all the kind and keen individuals that are part of the team, and always excited to grow the team. So if you want to get involved, anything helps, please drop us a line on the email. One position right now that we are currently looking to fill is the Fund Development Director. So this is a voluntary position, but it is a new position. So kind of exciting to be able to shape that and help to support, growing up the financing of the organization. And we always make sure our volunteers are well taken care of with proper onboarding, binder training, and as always, appreciation gifts at our annual general meeting. And let's not forget that awesome feeling in the belly of doing your part to help Mother Earth, and joining together with like-minded people, meeting some new friends, and that kind of thing. And on a final note, too, we are also working towards developing a pilot eco community in Ontario. So just stay tuned on that initiative. That one is super excited if you're in the area and want to get involved.
Thank you. Are there any closing thoughts you'd like to share to inspire us all on a path forward to a healthy, sustainable future?
Yeah, I guess I would just say just try and clear your mind, stay strong, keep healthy, motivated, and excited about the future. We're all in this together. We're all learning. We all have good days. We all have bad days. Um, and in a time of change, although there are those challenges that are happening, the world is full of amazing opportunities. And with challenges, other doors open. So it's really an exciting time. I know there's a big task ahead of us. There's a lot of destruction and challenges happening to Mother Earth, but there is strength in numbers and we can learn and grow together. So don't be afraid, reach out, see how we can partner up. And I guess I'll just close off with a quote credited to Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. So, with that, the sky is the limit on all the great things we can do together. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for our first podcast. We will be releasing on a monthly basis moving forward. And if you would like to check out our Patreon for more information, and like Laura mentioned, our website for those blogs and more info and all that good stuff, and our YouTube, please go ahead and look that up.